Welcome to Conversations with Des. I'm your host, Des Blanchfield. Today, I'm joined by Stacey Marx. Stacey's the president for the National Business and Channels Business Unit at AT&T Business. Stacey, thanks for making time to join me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Indeed, I've been looking forward to this for some time. So folks, we're going to have a brief video conversation about a couple of key things that have been taking place over the last year, and no surprise there to do with the impacts of the global pandemic on business, and particularly small to medium-sized business in the retail sector. We're going to talk about some of those challenges that SMB retail leaders have faced so far, and the sort of challenges they are going to face as they roll out of a post-pandemic world. We're going to talk about what the retail industry leaders can do to face these changes and address them, and the challenges in particular. And then we're going to talk about how AT&T Business is helping those retail industry players take advantage of its many offerings. So Stacey, I wonder if we could just maybe start with the first one. So no secret that small to medium-sized business has been dramatically impacted by the global pandemic, and retail more than most, other than health. I wonder if you could sort of give us some insight into kind of the challenges that small to medium-sized business retailers leaders are going to face as they come out of a post-pandemic world.
Sure, I'd love to. So first, let's take a step back and say that there's been a sheer shift to digital. And so remember, let's go back to the pandemic when early on. Remember those days when you might look at your website to see if your local restaurant was open, only to find out that they didn't update their hours. It frankly was so annoying. So I give you this example to say it seems like so long ago, and yet it really wasn't that long ago. Now I would say most people are up to date on digital, and we have the whole contactless thing pretty well down. So what that does then, it puts all of the focus on the customer experience. Our day-to-day interactions are very different. We have higher expectations of our online focus. So unlike many other industries, one that really grew in 2020 was digital and e-commerce. It grew, in fact, 10 years worth in 3 months. So now that we've mastered, I would say, the contactless customer experience, the next thing is, how are we going to provide a personalized experience? And that's the thing that small and medium businesses should now begin to focus. So let me give a few examples. Customers want easy, and what that means is easy to use interfaces, easy ways to order, easy ways to move from the order to shipping to maybe even returning. All of these things are super important. In fact, Des, one thing I'd like to leave the audience with, 74% of consumers indicate that they'll purchase based on their experience. And so one thing that you'll notice that's not in that statistic is the price of the product. So it just underlies how important customer service really is.
Wow. It's an amazing statistic. I guess in essence, we as consumers, we want as much of the same experiences as we've had pre-pandemic coming into a post-pandemic world. But obviously now, as you said, it's online, it's digital. There's been a need to move into more often than not cloud-based offerings and software as a service for e-commerce and payments and so forth at one end through to fulfillment and other engagements. What can the retail industry do to address some of these challenges going forward specifically?
Well, you raise a great point. So I would say the number one thing that they should do is invest in technology. So whether it be the technology that you mentioned or just technology, the basics. And so I'll give you another statistic. 65% of SMBs who did invest in technology are more likely to grow. So that's your proof point on what you should do and why you should do it. And so in addition to the things that you mentioned, of course, there's 5G, Wi-Fi, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention security. So where might you start if you're a small and medium business? I would say the top two things is make sure you have adequate connectivity so that all of your applications run super smoothly and your customer has a great experience. And then security. And so both of these things are going to enable you to do curbside assistance, remote contact centers, I think you mentioned that, video monitoring for health and safety. But I would like to give you a couple of examples. Number one, we worked with a small car dealership, And when the pandemic hit, they didn't have the reach because they were servicing their town and people just weren't buying cars. And so they had this epiphany of, gosh, if we would only be able to do videos and chat online. And so they had to really amp up their connectivity as well as their voice to get some SIP trunking. And once they did that, they expanded their reach beyond their local community, even beyond their state, across the United States. So that's one example of how those simple things can make a difference. And let me give you another example, which is a little different. And this is a brewery. Now, gosh, I would like to go to a brewery during the pandemic, but we all know that that was off limits. And so this customer, what they did is they changed their brewery from only in-house. You went to the pub, you had their breweries, and they changed it to they started to can their goods. And then they amped up their web presence, and that's how they interface with their customers. And they gave them their menus and all kinds of cool to-go things. And now that we've been in the pandemic a little bit more, now they're actually having a patio service. So the point here is technology can really be your friend as an SMB, but how you apply it might be a little bit different for your customer set. The two things that I would tell you are very consistent is great connectivity and security. And let me just put in a little plug for security. Oftentimes when I talk to SMBs, they tell me that they're too small. They'll never get hacked. In fact, nothing could be further from the truth. Really, you should focus in on security.
Indeed. I think over the weekend, it's been a long weekend here over Easter, and I was reading the latest stats on cybersecurity issues, and there's over 1,400 incidents just across North America alone. So as you said, you're never too small to get hacked. No, I do like some of the comments you made there, particularly around the findings you've had with regard to the physical to the virtual and the online shift and the shift to digital and the need to leverage technology. I think we've all experienced that shift now where instead of going to a local retailer, we would buy online. Instead of going to a local cafe, we're doing curbside stuff. And even to food delivery, I have to admit that I've been consuming a little more takeaway food than I might normally because it's just more convenient. And also I've been supporting my local businesses. Well, you brought me to my last question around some of those key technologies, particularly the communications, video, voice, data, software-defined wide area networking, and a range of other those things that you do natively. I wonder if you could give us some insight into how AT&T Business is helping the retail industry take advantage of its many offerings.
Oh, sure. So AT&T is definitely in the business of helping our small businesses not only succeed, but thrive in the new pandemic. And so the number one question that we get is, where do I begin? So, gosh, they know about all of these technologies, whether it be connectivity or the cloud, they understand, but they're not quite sure how to start. So we've made a couple different investments to give you step-by-step instructions. So number one, we have a social media playbook guide called Going Virtual. And in that guide, you can go on our website and see it. It's free. You can consume it whenever you want and however you want. It walks you through every step to uncover the right technologies and strategies. So it walks you through how to set up a website, how to open an e-commerce store, how to put digital marketing to work, etc. So that's the number one resource, which is really good. Number two, we do have a series called Tech Demystified. And one of the things that we know is, look, technology does you and I, it's our business, we love it, but the SMBs are super busy doing their business and they need to know how technology can help them. So this is a really great series if that sounds like you. It really helps you understand the technology using simplified language and none of the jargon that you might hear from native people. And then the last thing that I would draw your attention to is we have a Barbara Corcoran series. Again, this you can watch it whenever and however you would like. I'm a big fan of this series because it really gives useful tips for the small business need. Outside of that, of course, you can follow us on social media, on our websites, and through various LinkedIn channels.
Fantastic. Well, what I really love about what you just shared there was that you've actually embodied that whole journey to the virtual conversation, digital conversation, and then potentially the in-person in a virtual sense over Zoom or video conversation that people need to be having with you. I imagine that there's no time like the present to reach out to yourself and your team and your business unit there at AT&T Business to start a conversation and ask, where am I at? Am I in the right place? Could I be doing better? How can you help me get to a better place? And particularly around the context of today's conversation, where they need to be thinking about a post-pandemic world and what that looks like. We hear the phrase "the new normal." I think that's a bit of a furphy. There is no such thing as a new normal. It's just today. So I love the idea that you've got this guide around how to transition to going virtual. I do like the series that you've been talking about with regard to what small businesses can learn from having those conversations with you. So I wonder if you could maybe just wrap us up with a couple of details on where people can go to get this information, your website, and a couple of the other resources, perhaps.
Yes, so AT&T.com for sure, and within there, there's a business. Always follow us there's an AT&T Business social media handle, and your account teams are here and standing by. So if you're an existing customer, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. If you're a new customer, any of those services are available to you, and we would love to help you thrive in your new world.
Fantastic. Well, Stacey, thank you so much for all those great insights. And folks, do just follow that advice immediately. I would say start a conversation now, sooner than later. There's no time like the present. And I think this is one of those things where a conversation is going to be key, no matter whether you're just looking to learn and get some information to make a decision with, or whether you've got some hard questions to challenge your team with. And do reach out on the AT&T.com website and go to the small business section, follow some of those guides, download some of those resources, and also join the conversation on social media as Stacey outlined. So make sure you follow at AT&T Business on Twitter and look up the AT&T Business page on LinkedIn. Follow them, join the conversation, put the questions to them there, or reach out in virtual sense in person and have a conversation via video just like this. Stacey, thank you so much for making time to chat with us. Congratulations on getting your customers and your business partners through to where you are now. And I'm looking forward to seeing the successful transition to a post-pandemic world sometime soon. And I'll hopefully have you back on the show again soon.
All right, thank you.